Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to The Self Psychologist, capturing the currents of social psychology, where we dive deep into the mind waves that shape our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors to help both ourselves and others. I'm Isabella Padilla, and I'm joined with my lovely co-host here, Dr. Ozge Kantas, a professor at St. John Fisher and founder of Psychosocial Consultancy. Thank you so much for being here with me this afternoon, Dr. Kantas.
Of course. Hi, Izzy.
Hi. In this first episode, we will be exploring how the presence of others, either real, implied, or imagined, impacts how we move through the world. In today's episode, we're laying the foundation for the crucial question, what is social psychology? We'll look at our social environments and the ways that they influence us that we often don't even realize, from the way we present ourselves online to the assumptions that we make about others. Think about it. Have you ever caught yourself acting differently in one social setting versus another, potentially a different friend group, your school friends versus your home friends versus your church friends versus your family friends? Or assumed that someone was judging you only to find out that later they weren't? Social psychology helps us understand why we come to those conclusions and why these experiences impact us so much. So let's dive into the currents of social influence in our perception. This is the Self Psychologist, and today we're looking at things through the social lens. So let's start off with the basics. Social psychology is the study of people's thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and how they're influenced by the presence, implied or imagined, of other people. That means that we're not alone. When we're alone, that the societal expectations, cultural norms, and past experiences still shape how we act. So, Dr. Kantas, my first question for you is, obviously, we know that you have a very prominent social media following and interact regularly online for personal and brand management. How do you think that social media impacts the way that we think, behave, and feel? And do you notice a difference in yourself when you're online versus offline?
Yes, sure. And that traces back to the official definition of social psychology and why I call your assignment in my social psychology class as Self Psychologist and how it turned out to be a online masterclass. Also, the similarity and the difference is we behave under the influence of actual, implied, or imagined presence of others. Because our brains are not only biological organs, it's the social organs.
Yes.
So, for example, in the morning, did you put on deodorant? Probably yes. But no one was around you. Why did you put on deodorant? Because you imagined that you will be around people. Right?
I never even would have thought about that as an example. Wow. Yeah, that's so right. That's a perfect encapsulation of it.
Or you took a picture in the morning, maybe I was walking with my dog and it was still snowy and it was ridiculous because I want spring to come and no one was around me. However, I took this picture so that I could post as a story on my Instagram because even though I was alone walking my dog, there is that implied presence of others. I want to show it to others eventually. So our human brain does not that much differentiate between the actual imagined or implied presence of others in a good or in a bad way. For example, I still stop at the red light even though there's no traffic police around me, knowing that no one will put a ticket for me, right? But I still follow the rules because I think it is important. That's the imagined or implied presence of others because I don't want to cause a traffic accident. It's beyond being punished by a ticket.
Right.
So the starting point of that self-psychologist was years ago. I think even a year before I joined Fisher as a professor, I was posting on social media about my life. It was my blog, my personal blog, but I wasn't suggesting or instructing people what to do. It was not like a psychologist account, 10 steps of 11, 3 red flags of so-and-so.
Sure.
I was just posting about my life and I wasn't expecting a following for that. But things turn out to be people started following me. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. And why are you following me? I'm not suggesting anything to you. I'm not saying anything that you should do this. You shouldn't be doing this. I'm only a self-psychologist to myself.
Like an accidental influencer overnight. That's so funny.
I'm my own psychologist here.
Right.
Why you're following me? And people said, we are following you because you're genuinely and openly sharing how psychology impacts your life and how you're using those social psychology principles for yourself. Right. And then you were one of my students in social psychology
Yes.
class. And if you remember, one of your final assignments was a Self Psychologist assignment.
Yes.
Like it was a non-essay assignment using social psych principles. Your task was to creatively help yourself by using social psych theories, principles, and the framework so that you can sustain yourself and your well-being in a better way. So that's the starting point of Self Psychologist, and how my online presence, in addition to my in-person presence in class, kind of merged. And you see the impact. It's the actual presence in my class, and it is the imagined or like digital presence on social media. And people still need that, because social psychology, we are the object and the subject of the same experiment.
Right. Yes, that's such a good way to put it. I think you do a great job in your social media too of capturing that like authenticity and the genuine love and joy that you have for the subject, which is why I think so many people resonate with it, because they see how you present yourself in person versus how you present online. And so oftentimes there's such a disconnect between that. It's a very fickle online persona, but you do a good job of carrying your essence into a digital form, which I think is really interesting.
And like commenting back on your compliments, I think you also did a great job back in time in this class. I remember you and your group project was about creating a venting board.
Yes, yes. I think it's still in the psych hallway. It might be. Yes, it is.
It is, yeah. And it was about how like we shouldn't be canceling our like negative or disrupting thoughts, but how can we use social psychology to reshape and reframe our ventings into actionable plans for our desires, because our ventings are about our fears, right? Like, what if this and this happen? What if so and so does not happen? Or like your concerns, your worries, anxieties, fears. And there is a way from transforming those fears into actionable micro steps for our desires.
Right.
And that was one of the very like highlighted assignments throughout I don't know how many hundred of students I teach social psychology at this point, but yeah, I remember yours.
I'm so glad. That was such a fun assignment. That class was so fun. I had a blast. I mean, it's really what introduced me to the whole concept of social psychology, and it's what made me realize, like, oh, this is the specific type of psychology that I'm interested in. This is what I've always been interested in. It has a name. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't think it was something real. I thought I was going to have to make it up and forge my own path. But, it makes me really excited to see that there's social psychologists who are kind of integrating social psychology as a therapeutic modality. And, throughout this internship process and just, my own experience with social psychology, there's so much research out there that supports social psychology as a way to just not only view therapy, but to view yourself, with the whole Self Psychologist course that you're pioneering, from just our day-to-day interactions to help us understand ourselves better. Because my motto that I live by, and I know we're kind of going a little off topic here, but my motto is, like, if you don't know others, you cannot fully know yourself, because we don't exist in a vacuum.
And our human brains are not operating without each other. Like even though that person is, or that group of people is not around us, we still operate under that human connectedness through our brains. So there's no single human brain that can operate alone. Yes. This is why, for example, group psychotherapy is more impactful than individual therapy. It is faster, it has more impact, it gives that venue for people to interact themselves in another way. And current research says that if only 10% of mental health needs of American population was to be met through group therapy instead of people waiting in wait lists for months and months.
Yes.
Do you know how much it would save for US?
Wow, how much?
$5.6 billion.
Wow. That is crazy.
Yeah, that's the recent publication in American Psychologist. And like, even when you think about therapy, considering the presence of others, sometimes actual others, sometimes implied others, or sometimes the imagined others, really, if we can use it in a way that helps us, it is great. But on the other hand, social psychology is a tool. It can be misused or abused as well. For example, you can use social psychology to torture people.
Yes. Yes.
To gaslight them.
Yes.
To distort their social beliefs or like their reality. Manipulate them. Their self-worth.
Yes.
Yeah. So
What was the one study that we learned about in class? I think it was the study where the students would have to shock, or the teachers would
Milgram's obedience study.
Yes, exactly. Where, it analyzed how just by being told to do something, how easily people just end up responding because they're socially conditioned to obey people who, they perceive to be in this kind of higher space. And just like translating that back to social media, I think that the way that we obey the social norms of posting on social media, like how often do you post, what don't you post, what do you post, when do you post, how do you post, what's your caption, all these little,
oh, by the way, you posted about this but you were silent about this.
Yes or that cherry picking of when you speak up about certain things and when you don't, and what's the way to go about things in that certain way. It's interesting how we translate like the social politics into the digital landscape. That's always been something interesting to me, because no one told me not to post 6 times in a row on Instagram, but that's the norm. Exactly. That's a norm. So it's interesting that humans,
at least it's a norm around maybe your age or your friends.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. It's norms on social media that we literally see the way that people interact face to face translated into a completely like not real world. Like it's not real, and yet we are having it operate by the same standards that we operate here, even though the presence of others is not literal. It is literally digital.
There's no written rule for you that you sign up. Like you can only open up an Instagram account if you are like acknowledging the fact that you have to post,
you have to do certain things and exactly.
No, it's not like that.
Yes,
but we do it, and it's a cliche that you are the average of 5 people around you, but it is not a cliche in that sense, because that creates the social norm. I'm not sure whether it is 5 people or 10 people or 50 people.
Sure.
So it's the more of the social anthropological, social psychology's topic. Mine is more social and personality psychology that I'm being trained for.
Right.
So, for example, some anthropologists say the group impact starts to break down after 150 people. So if a community becomes 151, there will be some breakdowns within that, like big communities. So I'm just saying out of some others' research. It's not something that I did by myself.
Sure.
But even that has an impact on the way we behave, the way we feel, and the way we think. So that ABC, if you remember, I drove a gingerbread.
How could I forget? Yes,
gingerbread
the affect,
person.
behavior, cognition.
Yeah, ABC, affect, behavior, cognition. The way we think, the way we behave, and the way we feel. Exactly. The other day, like I have a 4-year-old, you know, and because of the cartoons or kids shows that he's watching, for example, Paw Patrol, and they're always chasing bad people and saving like good people, right? So, and he was so assured that police is good and they can always find who is guilty, and that's the social cognition that he has. Right. So that's the script that
built
is
into his
like,
schema now. Yes.
This is a schema. This is a script, as you said. And then, like, my car was stolen recently, and he was so like questioning the fact that will the police find them? Will the police catch them? Will they go to prison? The thieves. And of course, like, there are times there police officers cannot catch the thief. So his entire script changed into something else that, why mommy?
Yeah.
His feelings about trusts, about his thoughts, about his behaviors about police officers can always catch everyone, and they will send everyone to prison. Like, due to the, like, what was it? The Baby Shark police officer episodes, for example. It has to tweak a little bit. So this is the social cognition part. And then the social influence part and the social relation parts come after that. He keeps asking me about. And my answer will change his script. So since our childhood, we are being scripted in social contexts. Whether it is about a chocolate versus broccoli, about eating habits, right? Our attitudes towards vaccine, for example, or attitude towards law. Like, what is law? It is a human created set of rules. This is why, for example, prostitution. In some countries, the one who does prostitution gets punished, whereas in some other countries, the one who buys prostitution get punished.
Right.
So think about the context that we make our decisions and the norms and the behaviors and how we are going to think of certain group of people, certain situations. It is all social psychology. Yes. This is why I love social psychology, because we can handle two little kiddos fighting over a toy in a playground when their relationship, their social relationship. Or we can think about two nations fighting over a land.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It permeates into every aspect, every level, every tier of everything. Yeah, I think that's so interesting. That's also what I love about social psychology. I think it's so interesting to analyze what cultural norms and what different belief systems result in different attitudes towards certain things, because it really helps you to realize the objectivity of a lot of different moral and ethical issues that we tend to view things as so clear and so black and white, but in reality the way that we even come to those conclusions is influenced by everything around us. Like we don't exist, like I said before, we don't exist in a vacuum. Like we are, all our experiences, all our beliefs, everything, that how we view ourselves and each other is impressed upon us. There was actually this scene in the second Inside Out movie that I found was really, really, really interesting and aligned with, I guess, my understanding of psychology in general, where Riley, her emotions are traveling down and they get to the core beliefs section. Oh. And it's like tons of strings that when you pluck them, she recites a core belief about herself. And I think that's so true, because we internalize certain various core beliefs that either other people have taught us to think about ourselves or we've thought about ourselves because of the experiences, what we're good at, what we're not good at. Like that's why people do these affirmations that help them, I am loved, I am worthy, I am strong, because so oftentimes we're fed the opposite from our experiences, and those things really do stick with you. And whenever I'm talking to, any one of my friends, because I like to have relationships in my life where we discuss each other's psychological makeup often, and we like to dissect at each other and figure out, why do you think the way you think because of this, and why do you believe this about yourself? So oftentimes I find that my friends will be like, I'll say, oh, see, I understand now why you feel this way about yourself and why you're more sensitive to this certain issue, this comment, this whatever, this circumstance, because this either reaffirms like an insecurity that you believe about yourself, one of your core beliefs, or it goes against one of your core beliefs.
And it is attitude salience. Some things might not be very important and central to your attitude system, your belief system, but it might be very important to someone else's essence. So we think we are looking to out of a window, a crystal clear window. So we think we are very objective.
Yes.
In fact, we are looking into a mirror and see our reflections. So in the way we interact with each other. This is why we see so much polarization, because we have echo chambers. We think the way we think is how others also think.
Yes.
And when we encounter someone that thinks totally opposite, this is the reason of our disappointment. Like, how come? Like, don't you see?
How could you? Yeah, it's so obvious to me. What's wrong with you?
Because we have that consensus bias. And how learning about social psychology help people? To me, the way to become your own self-psychologist is to understand, as you said, why you think the way you think, why you feel the way you feel, and why you behave the way you behave. And it is all about understanding our biases, our values, our core scripts and schemas about certain stuff, right? So I remember the very first year I came to US, I was 28 years old, and I was at University of Rochester in Motivation and Wellbeing Lab. In the weekends, we were going to run at Erie Canal with my lab friends.
Nice.
And it was winter, of course. It's like cold.
And you're out there running on the canal?
Yes. Because my friends were doing it.
Oh my goodness.
Think about the social norm.
Right. That's a terrible norm. That's a terrible social norm.
But I don't want to be like
the outsider.
Exactly. I want to join them.
Right.
And I remember the bottles we had in the car, the water bottles we left in the car, they got frozen until we got back.
Oh my goodness.
And of course we were thirsty. One of my friends chuckled the water bottle with the teeny tiny amount of water left.
Yeah, at the bottom.
And I was terrified and shocked. And I was like, no, you shouldn't be drinking it. And he said, why? You will get cold. He said, why? And because this is what my grandma was saying me in a Mediterranean country. Like I saw it the way you're looking, what do you mean by you will get cold? So throughout my childhood, I was always forbidden from like drinking cold water, icy water. I was always told like drinking cold water when you are sweating will make you cold, will make you like catch a cold and have a flu. And I never tested this.
Right. You just believed it.
I believed it.
Because your grandma's saying it. You're not going to go against what she's saying.
That. And my grandma would be so upset to my friends running in the outside at Erie Canal and then drinking, chugging iced water.
Right.
And all of my script like changed upside down. And he said like, why? Like, what is the background story of this? And the more I tried to explain him in English, the more I realized the logistic flaws in my argument in another language. And that's the beauty of being bilingual.
Yeah, it is. Oh, isn't it? Oh my gosh.
And right your there. Self-psychologist language, I would say, talking to yourself as if you are your own psychologist requires learning another language.
Yes.
That's just another language that you adopt for yourself.
Absolutely.
This is like, think about that. 28 years old. I never questioned that fact.
Yeah. Wow. And I bet there's so many things like that, especially that we inherit from our families and our upbringings, that you don't question because you are told those things from such a young age that you just, at that age, you still believe everything your parents say. You don't question anything they say. That your parents are the end all be all when it comes to rules and regulations. So you just accept it blindly, but then you end up being an adult and you've never questioned those things. Of course.
And it is only a stupid example of icy water. Think about what you know about love. Mm-hmm. Think about what you know about money.
Exactly.
Think about what you learned about friendship.
Yeah.
Think about your boundaries. Are they rigid? Are they too flexible?
Yes, exactly.
These are all the things that we learned as a behavioral scripts in the world. So, yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. Well, we are running out of time here, but as always, conversation with you is so enriching, Dr. Kantas. So again, I thank you for joining me for this podcast episode.
Of course.
So to my viewers and listeners, as you go about your day, take a moment today to notice your thoughts, feelings, and actions shift depending on your surroundings. Are you reacting to real social cues or the assumptions that are shaping your behavior? This has been the Self Psychologist, navigating the currents of social psychology. If you enjoyed, please make sure to follow for more content and comment below one fun fact that you learned about today's episode. And we look forward to seeing you again. Next episode, we're going to talk about
constructing reality.
Yes, constructing our reality and our schemas.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So make sure to tune in for that.
Yeah.